Hey everybody, it's Marshall here. Let's get my Ratchet and Clank movie review. We're going to talk about the good, however there was barely any of it, and we're going to talk about most of the bad. It's not that bad, but it is bad, but I'll explain it to you, right? I'll explain it to you. However, there are a lot of Easter eggs, there are a lot of funny moments, and there are a lot of good things about this movie that we're going to talk about as well. So let us get started. So this movie, I didn't hear too much about it. The promotion of this movie was not great. I heard it was announced back in, last year, so that's something, but then it just went blank. I didn't know when any of the trailers came out. It wasn't buzz all over it. Now, about maybe a few weeks ago, when the movie was highly expected, that's when the promotion really jump-started. I saw this on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, on television, during movies. I saw this everywhere. It was crazy. I couldn't get away from Ratchet and Clank, because it was just better further into the movie, and you kind of need that promotion buzz, during the whole span. You need to expand that and turn it into a whole smooth, ride all the way through. But at least I did something, right? I mean, yeah. Alright, so let's talk about the movie itself. We're going to do general review first, then we're going to go on to highlights, and there will be spoilers during that time, so just watch out. I'll announce when highlights are coming, but they're probably going to end up mixing together, so just warning for spoilers because they are coming. So this movie has a lot of bad in it, and it's not because of the voice cast or because of things like performance-wise or visuals. It's because of the writing and the story. So let's talk about it. But first, let's go over the voice cast. The voice cast was amazing, was phenomenal. There was Paul Giamatti, Rosie Dawson, Bella Thorne, James Arnold Taylor. I mean, these are big stars in this movie, and they work. This is some really good voice acting. I really do applaud Rosie Dawson as well, because she's just been in so many things. She's been in Daredevil Season 2, she was in Justice League vs. Teen Titans, now she's in this movie, so there's a lot that she's been doing. And then Bella Thorne, I couldn't even tell that was Bella Thorne in the beginning of the movie. It was crazy how she played Cora. That was phenomenal as well. So it was really nice to see her kind of dive into the voice acting, and she did phenomenal with it, so I hope, that she gets into more of this. Maybe go over to Disney and Pixar. But I do want her to do some really good live action stuff, too. She's been lacking in that area. She's been in, an Adam Sandler movie. I think Steve Carell was in Alexander, right, with her in there, too. So, let's try to raise the bar. I really think she should go over to either Marvel or DC, try some of those movies out, some comic book films, just because those are amazing. She actually said that she wants to play a female Deadpool, which probably won't be happening anytime soon, just because, I don't know if she knows quite how comic book movie business works, but it takes, 10 million years to get what you really want in a comic book movie. I mean, we just got Batman and Superman in a movie together. We're just now getting Civil War and Spider-Man in the Marvel Universe, so it does take a long while to get what you really want. But anyway, back to the other voice cast, the other people. James Arnold Taylor, if you guys recognize him during the movie, if you have younger siblings, or younger children, or nephews or nieces or whatever, and you've heard that voice before, chances are they've been watching Johnny Test, or something else with James Arnold Taylor in it, but he is amazing. He is Ratchet. I feel like he is my favorite voice actor in this movie, just because him and Bella Thorne are kind of tied. Just because both of them did really good performances. And whoever played Captain Quark, I still can't remember who does that voice. But, everybody in there, everybody in this movie is great with their talent, and I really like it. Now, does this movie appeal to all audiences? Say you are a grown-up taking your children to see this movie, but also you're seeing Jungle Book. Say you're seeing that both on 2 days apart. One Jungle Book here, and the next day you're going to see Ratchet and Clank. Jungle Book is a movie that is made for kids. It's basically targeting that demographic, but it also makes sure that everybody can enjoy it, because kids can't drive to the movie theater, right? So adults need to take them there. So say they're watching that, and it's this is what we call a quadrant film, where it's good for all ages and all audiences, whereas it's elders, or adults, or teens, or kids. It appeals to everybody. This movie, however, does not. I mean, if you're an adult, chances are if you're a kid trapped in an adult body, that will make sense to you. It will make sense to see this movie, and you'll probably like it. Chances are if you're more of an adult that actually, has kids and takes them to see this movie, you ain't gonna like it. You ain't gonna like this movie because it's super cheesy, it's stereotypical, it's that classic kid humor, like the humor that they have around these days in the movies like that. Say like the Lego movies, for instance, like Lego Movie, Lego Batman that's coming, and this movie, although this one is different in its own way because those movies are also different in their own way. Like, movies are getting so unique, from Deadpool to Batman v Superman to Alice in Wonderland and Alice Through the Looking Glass. There are so many movies that are very different. And this movie is the underdog film of the year. I mean, there's so many movies. We got Star Wars Rogue One, X-Men Apocalypse, Batman v Superman, Captain America Civil War, Finding Dory, Alice Through the Looking Glass. We've got so many huge blockbuster movies coming out this year that this movie is going to be so overlooked. And again, if you are an adult, you're going to overlook this film too. And chances are, mainstream audiences that go to movies, they're going to overlook this movie too, because it's just not, it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, compared to all these other things. And I feel like that's because of timing. Like, I feel like if this movie would have came back maybe 2-3 years ago, it would have been really great. But for a movie that's going up against things like Warner Brothers, Marvel, and the Disney family, and all of these other studios, it ain't got a chance. I mean, I'm sorry, Ratchet and Clank, but you ain't got no chance against these other movies. And I don't think the box office is going to go in their favor. Batman v Superman, as it is something that is really trending right now in the movies that aren't doing as great as other movies. I put this movie even below that. People are comparing it, saying that Batman v Superman, everyone's saying Batman v Superman, for instance, is kind of like rushed or too much in too little time. Compared to this movie, that movie is the perfect movie. Batman v Superman is the perfect film compared to this movie, because this movie has everything wrong. I mean, this movie doesn't present itself like a film. It presents itself like a video game, but like with cutscenes only. There's no gameplay. That's just what it is. It feels like it, and it's supposed to feel like it. And about the cheesy humor, let's go back to that. It's supposed to have it. That's what it's supposed to have. It's supposed to have that cheesy, stereotypical humor. It's supposed to have that rushness. It's supposed to have that, kind of funniness to it. But, unfortunately, it doesn't land its mark. This movie is very rushed. There is no stopping it. It's just zoom! Like, from the moment you hit Ratchet Clank and you see that first scene, zoom! It does not stop. Now, further into the film, it kind of slows down a tiny bit, like a tad, but it ain't gonna slow down. It's like a bullet train. It ain't gonna slow down. It's gonna keep going faster and faster, and you ain't gonna stop it, because this movie is rushed. And that is a big problem. Ratchet and Clank are two iconic characters, and if you guys don't know, it's based on a video game back in the day on PS2. I mean, of course, they have the new video game that's out now, which is what this movie is based on. But seriously, it's like this movie is so rushed, you don't understand the full origin of Ratchet and Clank. Now, for an instance, example, in the video game, when Ratchet goes to try out, and we're getting into spoilers now, to try out for the Galactic Rangers, and he says, yeah, I can do this, and he says, let's go, Rangers, and then it, like, cuts the next scene, like, you don't have what it takes to be a Ranger. Well, before I get to that cutscene with Captain Quark, you actually get to play as Ratchet and do the whole obstacle course and try out, like, actually try out to be a Ranger. That's when Quark says, you don't have what it takes. So imagine how kids or other, or maybe 10 to 12-year-olds or whoever's going to be seeing this movie, imagine they're just like, wow, that kind of just barreled over that fast, and why didn't Ratchet even get a chance? So that's something that they could have done, and I feel like that's because the movie is too short, right? It's an hour and 34 minutes long. It needs to be longer. I mean, this movie needs to be way longer, about 2 hours, maybe 2.5, although kids really can't sit through that as well as adults. We talk about these comic book films that are out right now, and I'm just doing this for an example, that they are long. They're 2.5 hours to almost 3 hours, and they're having extended cuts of these movies that are 3 hours. Kids ain't gonna be sitting through that, but there are adult comic book fans, or older comic book fans, so that can sit through that long. But this movie is made for kids, so it needs to be shorter. I understand that, or maybe they didn't have enough in the budget, but it hurts the movie rather than helps the kids that are seeing it, because there is no character development, and the origins are rushed. Like for Clank, another example from the video game to the movie, when he is seen as a defect robot, or a defect, droid, android, whatever you want to call him, I don't care, whatever you want to call him, when he's seen as a defect, he fights Drek's assistant robot guy. I still can't remember his name either, but he fights him, and there's like this whole scene where he uses his laser against Clank, where you play as Clank to dodge him, and you get to play in that scene for like maybe 10 minutes, and you fight against him a little bit, but you have to escape. Clank just runs off in a spaceship and goes, and it doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. And I feel like if the movie was longer, it would have had that action sequence, right? and it doesn't take itself seriously when it needs to take itself seriously. I mean, there's a part of the movie, again, spoilers, where Ratchet is, publicly disgraced, or like, Ratchet is a total disaster, and he's like laying, on his bed in his room, just like super sad, and then, what's his name? Ratchet's guy that's in charge of the garage. See, I haven't played Ratchet and Clank in forever. I don't know a lot of the characters, but, for instance, that, the guy who owns the garage, that watches over Ratchet, enters in, and he's just like, hey, Ratchet, but the whole thing, the conveyor belt that he's on goes, and it is funny. And I said, that would have been an amazing, funny moment. Yet, it needs to be, it would have been a great moment, but there's just so much of this cheesiness in it. I mean, there's a joke every 2 minutes, and it would have been funny to have, yet there was so many of those moments that it wasn't as special when we got to it. And I was like, can we just have one moment where we focus on the emotional side? Because though this is an animated movie, kids need to have that feel. Like, let's compare it to Wreck-It Ralph, for example. Wreck-It Ralph has a lot of funniness in it. It's hilarious. But when you get to that moment where he's, falling towards the Cola mountain, and he's like, I'm bad and that's good, and does the whole speech, that's an emotional moment that kids really like to see, because in the end, they do get that satisfaction of that happy ending. But they don't get that here, because it's just, there's not really that stopper, and it just rushes through that, and it barrels over a lot of what they're supposed to be doing. And there is no emotional moments. So that's something that I really would have liked too. There's too much cheesiness in the writing, and there's also too much rushness. They rushed this as fast as they can, and I feel like it's just a cheap shot to get people to watch the movie, and I don't think that's going to be happening. I mean, this could have been a straight-to-DVD release for like the collector's edition of the game. This could have been a DVD they could have watched, like a movie, right? It didn't really need to be out in theaters, but I'm glad that they did do this, so that way they can learn from their mistakes, because there's some Easter eggs that are going to hint at going towards it. But before we get to that, I just want to say, yeah, it was a really good story. I feel like it's still entertaining. It's still fun to watch. It's just, for, like, say you're doing this video game, it makes sense to do that in the game, right? I mean, that's what it's supposed to be like. But this is a movie. Movies are different. They have to tell the story. This is people going to go spend about maybe an hour to 2 hours watching something, and you really need to give them that quality. I mean, they can always play this game. They can always do that. But this is a movie that, this is a movie, and movies have to be taken, especially in this day and age, like in 2016, they gotta be taken seriously. It's not like a video game you just go pick up, play, or you can do whatever. It has to be something that's story-wise and story-based. It has to be really well-written. And I feel like you can't take the game and just pin it on for a movie. But anyway, that's my general review. Ratchet Clank, it's still entertaining, and it's still a good film to go see, but I feel like it could have been a DVD release for the collector's edition to the game. I feel like that could have happened. But anyway, back to what I was saying about the Easter eggs. There are so many Easter eggs in this movie. I mean, it's crazy. And it's hinting at maybe a possible connected universe of video game movies. So we see when Clank is in the spaceship with Ratchet, he's just like, I can't seem to find you in my database. And again, another thing that was rushed, Ratchet being a Lombax, and there's no other Lombaxes, that was rushed as well. We could have had a whole moment about that. But we see there's an Easter egg where Clank is just going through species that look like Ratchet, and he goes through Dexter from Jak and Dexter, or Jak and Daxter, I can never remember his name. Daxter or Dexter? I think it's Dexter, though. Jak and Dexter. He sees Dexter through there. He sees Sly Cooper. So there's the few. There was others, but I couldn't catch them. It was like a really quick glimpse. But those are the characters I did see were Dexter and Sly Cooper. And I was just like, take my money. Shut up and take my money, because I want to see those movies. I feel like Jak and Dexter would be a really great film, because it's not like Ratchet and Clank. It doesn't have that instant cheesy rushness humor. I feel like that is really story-based. Like, when you play the game, it's lush, and it tells the story, and it's really good at it. I mean, there are times where it gets funny, and the game tends to, like, speed a little bit, but it doesn't rush through it. It tells that story, and I really like that, and it's a fun game. So I feel like that could even be T for teen, even if they wanted to. I mean, when you get to Jak 2 and Jak 3, those are T for teen, so it could be. And then Sly Cooper, that could just be really fun. I mean, that could be a thriller spy animated film. That could be amazing. So again, those Easter eggs I would like to see, and I would like to see them do good. So, what do you know? So that's my review of Ratchet and Clank. Again, it is an entertaining movie. I think you should go see it. It's really nice. It could be a straight to DVD. You could just be able to pick it up whenever it does come out on DVD if you don't want to really go see it in a movie theater. But it's great. It's still entertaining, but I have to give it a 6. I'm sorry to say that. I do every movie review, I do it like a number. This is a 6. It does not reach to a 10. It does not reach to a 9 or an 8. It's 6 because it was so rushed. It didn't focus too much on the character development so much as it did the story that still wasn't there because of the cheesiness humor, but it's still good. So what did you guys think? Comment down below. Links up there to my other movie reviews. Links in there to my Twitter, Instagram, Vine, Vlog channel, and Sims channel. Don't forget to like and favorite this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Parents and kids are raving that Ratchet Clank is hilarious.
Go on.
Adorable.
What?
And fun for the whole family.
Oh, yes.
Ratchet Clank, rated PG.